Well, the NYPD stormed New York's Barnard College on Wednesday afternoon, arresting 9 who were protesting against Israel. Students and others were ordered to shelter in place after the college received a bomb threat. This comes as its affiliate, Columbia University, is again in the spotlight. It was just about a year ago that the university served as the epicenter of pro-Palestinian protests that spread on campuses across the country. President Trump threatened Tuesday to pull funding from any school, college, or university that allows what he calls illegal protests. The president posted on Truth Social, quote, "Agitators will be imprisoned or permanently sent back to the country from which they came. American students will be permanently expelled or, depending on the crime, arrested." The president's warning came a day after a Barnard College employee was hurt in yet another pro-Gaza protest that was staged on Monday.
It also follows the Department of Education, Health and Human Services, and General Services Administration's announcement that they are conducting a review of Columbia's federal contracts. Separately, the newly established task force to combat anti-Semitism is considering stop work ordered for $51.4 million in federal contracts for Columbia. It will visit 9 other universities to investigate anti-Semitism. Trump's latest move has been met with criticism that it could have a chilling effect on free speech. The Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression denounced Trump's threat. In a statement published Wednesday, the organization wrote in part, quote, "As FIRE knows too well from our work defending student and faculty rights under the Obama and Biden administrations, threatening schools with the loss of federal funding will result in a crackdown on lawful speech. Schools will censor first and ask questions later." Joining us now to further discuss this is Alex Morey, the Vice President of Campus Advocacy at FIRE. Welcome, Alex.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Well, there's been a lot of coverage over the last couple of years in particular about these different kinds of protests. Give us a sense of your take on the significance of what the Trump administration is pushing here.
Well, look, under every administration that we've seen in FIRE's existence for the last quarter century, we have seen folks lose their principles when it comes to potentially censoring speech they dislike. What we want, especially under this administration, where there has been a lot of confusion, is for folks to refocus on the core principles and what is really clear. What's clear is that colleges have a long and good history on American college campuses specifically, of hosting a wide variety of protests, of playing host to all kinds of debate, discussion, viewpoint diversity. What we don't want as this new administration is coming in is to just, now we're going to censor different views, right? Instead, we want a refocus on principles that we want to see in every administration, on every college campus, under every college president, that we're going to respect a wide range of views. We're going to have full and complete tolerance for even the most controversial expression in every political climate. And we're not going to allow things like violence, discriminatory harassment, properly defined vandalism. We're not going to let people take over libraries and, hog the quad for their protest and not let other folks have their protests as well. But this all flows from a recommitment to those first clear core principles that are, that come from almost a century now of really good First Amendment jurisprudence. It's a question about whether or not this administration has a handle on that, or whether or not they're just simply, swapping DEI views from the last administration and censoring everything else. They're just switching that, and now they're going to censor views that are not sufficiently anti-DEI. We don't want that.
Let's talk about specifically what is happening at Barnard College right now with a building being occupied. So they have obviously the right to engage in free speech, engage in protest, to use the public spaces in the campus. What is at play, or what should a university, if they're going to respond in a way that is consistent with free speech and First Amendment principles, how should they handle a situation where there are student protesters occupying a space like a building, not going to leave or disperse, being there, multiple days in a row? What is the action that should be taken at that point?
This is a great hypothetical. This is a perfect one to talk through all the nuances here. So what we would like to see ideally on a college campus that welcomes all views is that they make sure that if students want to protest spontaneously about the issue of the day, schools allow that in typically outdoor open areas of campus. They allow leafleting. They allow students to write op-eds. There's this robust kind of discourse going on about whatever is the issue of the day. And administrators are not saying, well, we don't want to allow the pro-Palestine stuff right now. We're going to make those students jump through extra hoops. No, it's fair for everyone. Viewpoint neutral criteria applied in every situation. While at the same time, schools are going to make sure that they are enforcing their time, place, and manner regulations. We don't want students taking over the library while other people are studying. We don't want students protesting at midnight near dormitories when other students are sleeping. We don't want students erecting structures or tables or stopping people from moving around campus. Those would be time, place, and manner regulations that schools can and in many cases should be implementing in a viewpoint neutral way. Again, not extra hoops for certain protesters. We treat every protester equally. Then there's also a hard line against not just, we're not talking civil disobedience or time, place, and manner regulations, but when students or other outside actors are clearly engaging in things like violence or making true threats, hurting people as they try to take over a building, stopping students from going to class, administrators need to take a hard line there and make sure they have ample security on hand to deal with those issues. So TLDR, full protection for peaceful protest, even the most controversial stuff that some people don't like to hear. Zero tolerance and action when it comes to folks engaging in violence or stopping the educational process in some way.
And then what? Oh, go ahead, Linda.
I was just going to say, Alex, this isn't the first time we have seen this administration use the threat of removing federal resources as a way to have its will be done. And I suspect it won't be the last. You clearly have a really strong understanding of the lines here. What sort of recourse do these universities have if they were, for example, to continue to permit students on their campuses to do the kind of free speech activities that you described that don't fall in the line of vandalism or violence?
Yeah, the concern is that we want any government actor that is wielding some kind of cudgel, whether it's federal funding or investigation, or we're going to haul you before Congress and ask you a bunch of questions. We want that to be done in line with precedent and existing laws, right? So when the government has cause to believe that, for example, a school is violating a federal law like Title VI or Title IX, Title VI allowing students to be discriminated against on the basis of protected status, not only is it okay for the federal government to investigate and look into that, but they should. But our concern here is that with this administration, it has been unclear, as it was in many ways with other administrations as well, whether or not these investigations are being prompted simply by speech, or whether or not the subtext, sometimes clearer language than not. Sometimes we have it clear, sometimes we have it not unclear, depending on whether or not you're looking at an executive order, etc. The clarity is not there about what exactly this administration is asking universities to do. The subtext in some of these cases seems to suggest that universities ought to be cracking down on certain viewpoints rather than focusing on the type of misconduct that would lead to a violation of federal law. So why are you, with the latest Truth Social post from President Trump suggesting, a crackdown on quote unquote illegal protests? The question is he focusing on discriminatory harassment or a violation of Title VI? Or is he suggesting that simply allowing students to go protest wearing keffiyehs or protest for Gaza is somehow, quote unquote, illegal? The First Amendment is clear. It is not illegal. Protest is not illegal. Violence, discriminatory harassment, those kinds of things are, it is misconduct that the federal government can and should crack down on. But again, we need a refocus on what's the law, what are the principles. We don't just want certain types of views censored on campus. Instead, we want to respect everyone's rights to bring a diversity of views to the American college campus. That's a long and proud tradition, and the president has made lots of statements too that he wants to be a free speech president. He wants to bring back free expression to the American college campus, and we want to see him deliver.
As you point out, these issues have been litigated at the highest level before the Supreme Court numerous times. There are now, it's clearly defined what is, broadly speaking, what is free speech, and then what are the narrow categories of behavior that fall outside that protection. It's not like any kind of mystery, so it's remarkable that so many universities keep getting it wrong, and then so many administrations keep, as you said, applying this selectively. It seems like it'd be the easiest thing in the world to say peaceful protesting against Israel, for Gaza, against terrorism, whatever it is. It's so easy to apply these principles consistently, or should be easy, and yet it is seldom done except by organizations like yourself, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression. Thank you so much for joining us today, Alex Morey. We appreciate it.
Thanks to you both.